All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to get going. My name is Rob Metz. I'm the superintendent, and I'm going to introduce Rick Cryer. He is our Human Resources Director, and he's going to give you the directions of how this is going to go tonight. But I just wanted to start out by thanking you for coming. You're going to be part of the process to help us select our next high school principal, and I appreciate you taking the time and being here today to help us. So this is Rick Cryer.
Hello. Like the superintendent said, my name is Rick Cryer. I'm the Human Resource Director, and thanks for coming tonight. This has been actually part of a long journey, and some of you know, but we started way back in February, and we worked with an outside consulting firm that does superintendent and principal and administrator searches. We had our applications screened by the search committee. We had a group of students and staff and parents come into this room about a month ago, and we did a listening session. We had questions, and we asked them about what was important for them as we were looking at selecting our new high school principal. And one of the sheets you have, this top qualities in a St. Louis Park principal, comes from that work. It's the collective themes that came from the students, staff, and community members that we talked to. And we wove this through our entire selection process by asking questions that got at the qualities that were part of this. So people were involved at the beginning, people are now involved at the end. We had applicants whittled down by the selection firm, and that created our applicant or a candidate pool. We brought people in, we interviewed people, and we're down to the two finalists that you're going to meet tonight. So we're very excited about that. We gave you, if you don't have cards that look like this, we can get you some cards, but if you want to, after the presentations, we're then going to change the room around a little, bring a table up, and then we're going to have question and answers. So we'll do questions from the audience, ask one candidate, they'll answer first, the other candidate will answer second, then we'll go to the next question, and then it'll go for a while. So we're going to start with Scott Meyer won the coin toss and will be going first. And then the other piece that you have is after the question and answer period, the superintendent is looking for your feedback. So there's a form that looks like this, and it has Brenda's name and Scott's name, and there's a box for things that you saw as strengths in that candidate, and then another box for anything you'd like to know more or were wondering about, or thoughts that you had on the bottom. And then this will be tallied in the Human Resource Department. And again, there's no names on this, but it's nice if you put students, staff, or community members so we know kind of who's seeing what as they're coming in. And we're going to tally all these and then give that to the superintendent. In addition, both presentations, but not the question and answer. We couldn't do all of it, but we're going to do the presentation section will be videotaped. It'll be put up on our website. And if anybody couldn't make it tonight, they can view it, the two presentations on the website, and then this same form would also be there, and they can provide that back to the communications department by Tuesday, and we'll incorporate that as well. So we're going to get as much feedback as we can from as many places as we can, so that we make sure that we have the best fit for our next principal. So with that, I'm going to ask Scott to come up, take over. Scott, you have about 15 minutes, or up to 15 minutes. Here's your clicker. You can do that. And if you can stay here, since it's being taped, it would be better than roaming around, because otherwise you'll be off camera. So thank you, Scott.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'm a little surprised to be standing up here first. I had the dubious honor on my high school soccer team where I was a captain for a year of not winning many coin tosses. So I was surprised to win this one tonight. I'm going to start things off here with just a bit of an introduction, as it had stated before, and then move into some of the planning and things that I'm passionate about. So thank you again for coming tonight. I know this is a busy time of year, and I'm happy to see so many faces here. So Just to start off, I want to tell you a little bit about myself and the importance of education to me. I grew up in a smaller town, and I grew up with a family where there was a lot of predictability in what you were going to do. So, kind of whatever your uncles or parents were doing, that was pretty much what you'd probably be doing. I was a first-generation college student, much from the help of my teachers and some college-minded friends. They helped me build my own purpose for school. And I have a kind of a reinvigorated look at education, and I'm passionate about it because I truly believe it changed the trajectory of my life. Education created opportunities for me, and one thing I'd like to do in education leadership is create those opportunities for others. I've been in the district for 14 years, serving St. Louis Park schools. I started in the middle school, and my focus there was to make science accessible for all students. I really wanted to make sure it was break it down. I always thought people thought science was a hard topic, so I wanted to try to break it down so that students could take it in. I thrived on collaboration and strategic thinking there. Took an active role in a lot of initiatives that defined education and effective teaching. I was part of the ATPPS implementation, which was a alternative teacher performance pay system that allowed teachers to observe one another and coach each other and talk about what the main objectives were for effective teaching. As a department head, I took part in aligning curriculum, which has obviously continued into my role as assistant principal and interim principal this year. And then also staff development started all the way back in the middle school, where I was taking part in the evaluation process to look at systems and things we did, how effective are they. So it's been something I've been doing for quite some time. I should probably preface the picture here because it's a little hard to see, but it does tie into the information on the side there. This picture is a picture of me taken by a student. This was a student who had some particular difficulties last year, and our year ended on not such great terms. But this year, the student had approached me and said, "Hey, would you be one of my peeps in the park?" And so what I'm holding in my hand there is an orange peep. And it was one of those moments where I thought, this is really great. That's so nice that they came up and asked for me to do this after we had not the greatest set of circumstances last year. So part of what I'd like to do as principal of the high school is to commit to ensuring quality education for all students. And I think that starts with relationships and impacting the student climate. And that's something that has been a part of what I've done. I just listed a few areas for students. We've been dedicated to instilling restorative practices to try to repair and mend relationships between student-to-student conflict, student-to-teacher conflict, just to create a space for conversation to maintain relationships throughout some of the difficulties that high school brings. For the staff, just establishing trust through collaboration and support has always been something that's been really important to me. And obviously that trust serves a huge factor for a building leader, because you need the people to be trusting of you as much as you need to trust them. For the staff and community, I've had the unfortunate sometimes and fortunate times at others to navigate complex situations with the community. We've had some tough times here in St. Louis Park over the past few years, and one thing that has been a strength for me is navigating with calm professionalism and relying on the community in those situations. As we look at leadership style, I used a quote from Shelley Nielsen at Peter Hobart. If you don't know her, she's great. She's a great colleague to work for and work with. She had a quote once, and this may come from somewhere, but I'm going to give her credit here today. But it said, "I don't need to be the best at all the ways to lead. I can find others to lead with me." And I think that really kind of sums up how I approach things. I like to be approachable. I like to be an effective communicator. I like to provide vision and perspective wherever I can. Lead with integrity, which is very important to me, and balancing multiple perspectives, because given the wonderful opportunity we have here in St. Louis Park, being centrally located, having families with multiple backgrounds, it's great to have that perspective to draw from to make decisions. Student achievement is one thing that St. Louis Park is known for. Pretty solid foundation here. not just in IB and AP and national merit areas, but also in the graduation rate most recently. So since I came here in 2011 till now, we've seen an increase from 73% graduation rate up to close to 90% at one point last year, and we're at 88.3%. The graduation rate, as you can imagine, I can't take sole credit for. There's a lot of work from the students, parents, and teachers. But this is one indicator that I think will lead to student confidence as they come to our district. Coming to a district with a high graduation rate, I think, tells a student you'll have an opportunity to graduate here. So to sustain and invigorate achievement, there's a few things that I think are crucial. Graduation rate, as I just mentioned, is an important indicator, but also staying current with innovation. So our district had a Building Assets Reducing Risk, or BAR program, and actually Ms. Schwiedering, who's here with us tonight, was just in California talking with other schools about how our plan is effective and what things our school is seeing as successful there. We've also had a partnership with Cargill, infusing the engineering program into the elementary school, and I'm excited next year to take a look at the engineering program and expand it to the high school. So we'll have an engineering elective next year. It'll be our first year in the program, and we're excited to see that K-12 connection. So as you look, one of the things in my first 90 days that I'd want to focus on is implementation of that new engineering elective, and really look at it as a career and college readiness piece and a pathway to students to explore their futures. This is just an overview of some of the pathways that students will select when they come to St. Louis Park High School. And the unique thing, and it's not an impressive visual just looking at it here tonight, but if you look at all of those columns, you see business, engineering, there's connections to business partners that we have, parents, and community members. And so this is allowing students to do some of that exploration. Also, as you move down from the top, students are getting closer and closer to post-secondary credit in school, and in some cases actually earning post-secondary credit while they're here. So a wonderful opportunity for students to start that future planning while they're here with us. School culture is, as you could imagine, absolutely important with adolescents. So we want to create a safe and equitable environment. As I had mentioned before, the work with restorative practices, but I also think just role modeling and being present for students, being approachable for students is something that a principal can do to give the feeling of that safe, equitable environment. It's not just limited to that, but those are some of the important pieces. Cultivating student confidence is something that our teachers have been working pretty hard on for the past couple of years here at the high school. And that's based in looking at student failure rates or passing rates, depending on how you look at them, but ensuring that they have a chance to graduate and have multiple opportunities if they have some struggles as they go through their schooling. Supporting and modifying systems to meet the needs of all students, I think that's something many schools are facing, and that is, as our students' needs changes, we need to change with them. And some of the systems that we have in schools are quite solid and established, and so we need to start looking at how we can adjust those. In the first 90 days, what does that look like? I think focusing on a smooth 9th grade transition. Later on in the year, getting the seniors off and running with you is a really important component, but as we look at our 9th graders joining us, having supports, having opportunities to get involved, like for example, looking at clubs and activities on the night that they come in for orientation, those are all important pieces to getting the new group incorporated in the school. Staff development, this is something that, as I had mentioned before in one of the slides, is something that I've been a part of for quite some time here in St. Louis Park, and I can say I am inspired by the teachers that we have here in this district, as I think many of you in the audience who have had students go through our schools know that we have a pretty great group of teachers and some pretty wonderful strengths to pull from. We need to continue prioritizing practices that support student success, and technology integration and racial equity should always be considerations as we're doing that. So As we focus on our teacher development system, we have a new, we call it TD&E, but Development and Evaluation System for teachers. I think it's important for us to create time, support, and personal learning communities are one example where teachers can meet together, determine what supports they need to ensure that success, or get that training to use incorporate technology, and then also do some of the hard work for ensuring racial equity that many schools are embarking upon. Family engagement. This is one place where I know if we look at utilize technology to improve school-home communication, I know we're in an implementation process right now, both with our website and with Schoology, which Schoology is probably a little further from the grasp of parents at this point, but that's has to be something we focus on for next year, as it's an important communication point and a great place to share information. So in addition to the kind of standard practice that we've done a wonderful job, I think, here at St. Louis Park of ensuring an inviting experience. I was described as a small town to me when I first came here. I beg to differ, because my hometown was 3,000, and seeing a sign of 40,000 make me think, I don't know if that's a small town, but definitely has the feel, but more opportunity here than places like my hometown. So it's a great place to be. So facilitating back to school activities and getting some of that information out to parents right away will be an important step in the first 90 days. Community engagement, the poster off to the side, if you recognize it, speaks volumes about St. Louis Park. So tapping into those pieces that already exist about student assets, about Children's First, but also looking at some of the new in some cases, but not so new programs like the Academy Advisory Board, where I had alluded to it before, where teachers are meeting with business professionals and post-secondary staff to collaborate to make their lessons and their planning more relevant to post-secondary, and then getting the students out to experience those things, or in some cases experiencing right here at our school, and establishing either actual credits or plans for the future. Also, local and community service projects, there's a strong history of that happening just through volunteering here. So steering our students in community service classes, our IB students, other students that have National Honor Society students that have community service projects, pointing them to our local area to strengthen that connection. And then just being a good neighbor, which I think feeds into that idea of that small town feel. So I definitely would value that as if I were the leader of the building here. Focusing on career and college readiness activities would be a focus for the first 90 days, because there are pieces where we have to get who the people are established, get them to meet the teachers, and then start to plan right from the beginning on what those experiences might look like for teachers, whether they're in the classroom or outside of the classroom. So to kind of tie things up here, I just wanted to talk a little bit about encapsulating what it's been like for me here. So you can either look up here or just listen. Serving as a building principal this year, I know what the position entails. I learned a lot this year. I was able to demonstrate my abilities, some of which are listed on the board. I hope that people recognize more than those throughout this first year. I'm inspired by the support that for education in the community from parents, students, and I'm starting to see it from community leaders and businesses. So I'm excited about connecting into that dedication, and I am most looking forward to momentum at the bottom there, to continue that momentum that was built up this year and built up over the years, to continue towards progress for the next for the future for the high school. So. That concludes my presentation, and again, thank you for being here.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Brenda Damiani. I am currently an assistant principal at Armstrong High School in Plymouth, and I am very excited to be here. Thank you for having me. I am extremely fortunate that every morning I get up, I go to a place that I absolutely adore. I love my job, and I love working with students, with staff, and with families. And I couldn't describe to any more how passionately I just really love my job. And I would love to join St. Louis Park Public Schools. For the last 4 years as assistant principal, we've done a lot of strategic work, a lot of the same work that you're doing here. And I feel that the experience I have in Robbinsdale schools would just translate so nicely here to St. Louis Park. Before I was an assistant principal, I spent 7 years as a teacher on special assignment. And as you can imagine, on special assignment, you can be pretty much doing anything. But my work primarily consisted of managing some pretty large federal, state, and local grants. Some of the same ones you've had in St. Louis Park. So we had 2 federal smaller learning communities grants that really were transforming the work of our 2 high schools, really preparing our students to be ready for college and career. So all the work that we did was aimed at preparing students for their post-secondary education and career, while really trying to create a personalized learning environment for our students. Prior to my work as a teacher on special assignment, I taught both social studies and special education. And during my time as a teacher on special assignment, I also was the gifted coordinator in the district, working with our elementary gifted, international baccalaureate, and advanced placement. So in terms of my interaction with students, I have had and done it all, and just have enjoyed everything that I've ever done. I think it's important as an external candidate that you get to know a little bit about me before I tell you what I would help do for you. There is a consultant that works with some pretty big firms, and his name is Carmen Gallo. And one thing that he goes in and asks leaders when he's working with them, when they have to present to shareholders, he said he started asking people, what are you passionate about? And he would get pretty good responses. And then he started asking people, what makes your heart sing? And he got even better responses. And then I heard something that I think is an even better question, and it comes straight from the draft of the strategic plan for St. Louis Park Schools. And that is, what energizes and enhances your spirit? And when I heard those words for the first time when revealing that draft to the school board, I think my heart sang too. And I want to tell you a little about me and what makes my heart sing. So we have some pictures up there. I know the format's a little different. Look at the pictures for a moment instead of me. On the upper left-hand corner, you will see some books. And if I'm without a book, it is rare, because books I love. But why do I love books? Because they represent learning. They represent, if I'm reading fiction, going into a world and really enjoying and that creation that people have. But primarily I read nonfiction because I want to learn everything there is to learn. So I'm currently pursuing my doctorate in educational leadership, and I'm doing that as a personal goal. My professional goal really is to be the head principal at St. Louis Park High School, and I would like to retire from here. That is my dream. But for personal goal, I really do want to finish my doctorate in educational leadership. On the upper right-hand corner, you will see some music notes, and truly, they do make my heart sing. I love to sing. I've been a performer my whole life. It's a great hobby. At one point, I thought it might be a career, and it really has made a much better hobby. But on the lower left-hand corner, I love to travel. I would love, if anybody else likes to travel, I love to find new places to go. We bring our children around the world so they can experience new cultures, really immerse themselves in other ways of living, and that's been really great. And finally, my family. My husband and I have been married 25 years. We have 3 children. Our oldest is a graduate student at the University of Minnesota in statistics. Our second child is a sophomore in college studying economics and statistics. There's a theme here. And then we have a daughter who is a senior in high school and graduating and ready to take on the world, and very excited for her. So I will be an empty nester, looking forward to that. So those are the things that really enhance and energize my spirit. I think it's important when you're looking for somebody to lead a school to understand who they are and what their core values are, and that's what I have up here. I'm not going to read them to you, but I'll tell you what's most important to me. And what's most important to me is my integrity. And that is because I promise that I will do what I say I will do, and people can trust who I am and what I do, and I will never take that for granted. I really love relationships. I think that's why I like school so much, the relationships I have with students, the relationships I have with parents, and with my staff. Equity is probably my reason for breathing, and I believe that as public educators, that equity is being able to bring the best for all of our students, and I'll talk about a little bit of that in a minute. I think it's important to understand how I come about my vision about student achievement and what shapes my vision. And those are three things. First, it's my own educational experience. Second, it's the experience of my own children. And finally, my experiences as an educator. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my children. I'll be very brief because that's not why we're here. But first is that I believe each of my three children has equal intrinsic worth. I think all children have equal intrinsic worth. They all bring gifts to the table. But my children have had very different experiences in school. My boys, everything they love, everything that energizes them is valued at school. They love math. They love music, and they love athletics. And all of those things were valued by school, and they had some great experiences. And my daughter is equally as gifted and equally as talented, just as everybody is here and your children are. And yet, the things that really energize her, the things that enhance her spirit, maybe a little bit of mismatch with school. She's an artist, she's a designer and a creator, and in elementary school, that was just embraced. And then in middle school, it was there, but just not the same way. Well, now her journey through high school, it's being embraced again. And that's what shapes my vision for school, because I want no less for anybody else's child than I want for my own. And when a child walks into St. Louis Park High School, they need to have an environment where what is important to them is valued by the school community. So how do we create a shared vision for high and equitable student achievement? I think it's important to really just go right straight to the mission. Now, it's being tweaked, it's in draft form, but I truly believe that all students can learn at high levels and become contributing members of society. And how do we do that? Number one is we absolutely need to build relationships, hold high expectations for each and every student. And for me, that word each is very important, because when a student walks into my school and when a student walks into a classroom, it's not about the student body, it's about that child that walks into the classroom being honored and ready to learn. We need to provide rigorous curriculum that's with engaging instruction, culturally relevant, using data to inform our practices, and finally being able to celebrate the success of our students. And those are the things that I believe really why we're here. That's why we're here. So I talked a little bit about equity, and I want you to understand what I believe, and this is my vision of equity, but it also incorporates the strategic plan and the mission here in St. Louis Park. And I believe that all students can achieve at high levels. I believe that we must honor the diverse backgrounds and honor the intrinsic worth of every individual. And for me, honoring is more than valuing. I can value you, but when I honor you, I see the greatness that's within you, and I want to bring that out and bring you further. So to me, that honoring piece is very important. And finally, I believe that all students we need to raise the achievement of all students. Our students are living in a world that we couldn't have even imagined years ago. And what it's going to take to be prepared to enter the workforce and enter post-secondary education is daunting. And so we need to raise that level for all students, but we absolutely need to eliminate any demographic predictability of achievement. So that is what I believe to be true equity. So why do I want to work for community of St. Louis Park High School? About 11 years ago, I had the opportunity to visit here, and it was when I was working on our first federal Smaller Learning Communities grant, and I came to visit the 9th grade program here at St. Louis Park. I had to go to a team meeting, go around the school. It's now the BAR program. And at that moment, I knew this is a place I wanted to be. I said, I would love to be the principal at St. Louis Park High School. Now my journey has taken a few years. I've had to grow and learn, but it's my absolute career goal to be a principal here. I've applied nowhere else right now, if I don't work here, I will continue working for Robbinsdale Schools, but this is my absolute dream job. And why is that? Because you have a strong community that has great pride in the school, supports the school. It is a diverse community. I can't think of being in a place that doesn't have the great, rich diversity that you have here. The size of the student body, I think, is perfect. It individualizes and personalizes learning for our students, where students can come and be known by name. I think if I could design a high school that would be perfect for the youth, this is the place that I would design. It would look just like this, maybe with a few enhancements on the facilities, because I know that's a goal of the superintendent. So that's a little bit about me, why I would like to be here. Now we're moving on to the entry plan. What is the purpose of an entry plan? It looks a little different when you're an external candidate, but what do I need to do to be able to lead here at St. Louis Park? First, I need to learn, and that's a big process. And it's that reflection and talking to people. I need to build the trust of the community to be able to make informed decisions and support the district mission. So when I look at creating an entry plan, I do have copies of the plan that I'll make available afterwards. I didn't think you wanted to see that right now. I have 3 goals. And first is that building of relationships and engaging the stakeholders of the community so that we can serve the needs of the students of St. Louis Park High School. Second is really to conduct that records and data review so that I know everything there is to know about St. Louis Park. I don't do anything halfway, and if there is a document or data that exists, I will read it. And finally, what is the final goal is to support the implementation of the district strategic plan and support the mission of the school and the district. So if we break that down, I put that up there so that it would be there. I don't think that's the most interesting part, is to look at a bunch of text up there. But I think if we need to take a look at what would I do, and that is to start by building relationships. Through conducting systematic interviews with staff, with students, and the community, reviewing those World Cafe results, really determining what are the strengths of the high school and what are some areas where there could be needs for growth. I think it's important. Why do I love high school? Because of the richness of the activities and things that happen in high school. So do I love Friday night football games, going to the musical, going to the play, all of those things that make high school. We're having prom this weekend. I can't wait to go, to see all the students get dressed up and have a great time. That's why I love working in a high school. So maintaining that visibility and getting to know people by being out in the community and attending events. And finally, really having a strong communication plan in conjunction with the school district that is important to me. So I would hope that I would get a chance to talk to each and every one of you and ask you questions about what you love about St. Louis Park High School. What are the traditions that are important to you? Why are you proud to be here? Looking at some areas of growth. What are your expectations of me? What's your definition of success? And finally, how would you like to get involved in supporting the high school? So hopefully I will have a chance to be able to talk with you about that. On that records review, it's not pretty, it's not exciting, and yet, oh my goodness, I love that kind of stuff. If there's, like I said, if there's something to be read, I will read it. So I think it's important to know what's been done and what needs to be done. I'm definitely a person who uses data to inform instructional practices, and I think it's important to look at trends in data for achievement and look at areas where we need to grow and support student achievement. But data is just a starting point. Really, for me, it's about that relationship with the student. And finally, I think the most important goal is the third one, and that is the supporting of this district strategic plan, realizing it is in draft form, but not going to change too much from where things have going. You've got a great thing going here in St. Louis Park. You've got great schools and a strong community, and I think it's just time to take it up to the next level for all students. For me, the most important is that objective A, to align the instruction, curriculum, and assessment in a culturally relevant manner. For me, at the heart, I'm an instructional leader who cares deeply about what goes on in the classroom between the teacher and the student. There is nothing more important in a school than what happens in the classroom. And as an instructional leader, my passion is professional learning and being able to work with teachers and teacher leaders to have the best instructional practices in the classroom that are culturally relevant for all students. I think it's important to be able to collaborate with the community. And then finally, I think they're adding that facilities piece to be able to make sure that we have the best place for students to learn. And so we're going to circle back to where I started, which is that vision of student achievement. And for me, it comes down, as a head principal, is being the instructional leader of a building and helping support teachers to build relationships with all students, to make sure we're holding high expectations. We do not let students off the hook for learning, that we provide a rigorous curriculum, high quality instruction that's engaging, that students should be excited to come to school each day, that we are using data to inform our practices, and finally, probably the most important, is we celebrate the successes that we have with our students, that each and every day they can go home and say, here's what I learned, and here's how I was successful. Now, the plan I have that'll be available for you afterwards is much more detailed than this and has timelines with things by week and month, and I would love for you to take that home and, I don't know, hang it on your refrigerator or do whatever you want to do with it, but certainly to take a look at a more detailed plan of what I would do during my time here. But I would think that this is a good place, and I would love to be a part of it.